Did LaMelo Ball just make the Minnesota Timberwolves contenders in the West? Baby mama, fast cars, child support, and buckets. That's what's going on in Minnesota. The Minnesota Timberwolves have their new backcourt. Lil Birdie told me. As soon as Melo got the news, he drove there in 30 minutes, which is a record. Shit. But let's talk about it. Let's talk about the trade now. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. LaMelo Ball just got traded from the Charlotte Hornets to the Minnesota Timberwolves, and I had to get to all 800 of y'all immediately. This is one of the more interesting trades that have taken place. Maybe one of the more interesting trades that'll take place this offseason. And there's a lot to unpack here. Let's get into it. So, how did we get here? Over the past a little bit more of a half decade, Anthony Edwards has been the franchise centerpiece for the Minnesota Timberwolves. First couple years, they had a star alongside him in Karl-Anthony Towns. After they fell short in the Western Conference Finals, they decided to trade him away. That was maybe 2 seasons ago. And over those past 2 seasons, Ant has absolutely elevated his play. He's elevated his play to best player in the world levels, in my opinion. Still, in doing so, he has been faced with many double teams, which has really irritated him, as it is making the game harder for him. It's putting a lot of pressure on him, and he doesn't really have that secondary scorer there to take pressure off of him. When they traded for Karl-Anthony Towns, who is a star, one of the more talented bigs in the league, they traded him for Julius Randle. Julius Randle, quite possibly, is one of the worst basketball players I've ever seen in my life. No bullshit. So the front office want to keep Anthony Edwards happy. You don't want to lose another star in Minnesota. You lost Kevin Garnett. You lost Karl-Anthony Towns. You do not want to make one of the bigger stars that you guys have ever had unhappy and end up losing him in free agency. So in doing so, they fulfilled his wishes. There were reports that he was frustrated, even though he came out and rebelled against them. So the front office responded. They want to keep their cornerstone player there, and in doing so, they brought in LaMelo Ball. Now, with bringing in LaMelo Ball, they had to give up a pretty hefty load. Had to give up around 6 or 7 draft picks, one of the more important players on their team in Nas Reed, which is going to hurt. But the Minnesota Timberwolves are pretty much mortgaging their future draft capital and going all in on the LaMelo and Ant era. And there's no looking back right now. So it's only forward from here. That's the only way they're looking at it. They looking to be the 9th team to win a championship in 9 years. That's their goal. But let's talk about one of the new top duos in the league, Hit and Run, Ant and Melo. 2 of the more talented players in the league, 2 of the more electric players in the entire league, both entering the early stages of what should be their prime. The pairing makes a lot of sense on paper, but also on the court, it makes a lot of sense as well. As Anthony Edwards has had a lot of on-ball duties over the past couple of years, and with the addition of LaMelo Ball, that should open up some off-ball opportunities for him, as Ant is a superb shooter off the ball. So if he's able to get off the ball, get the ball to LaMelo get some paint touches, draw the defense in, and kick out to Ant, or maybe get Ant on some off-ball screens, some down screens, some flares, or whatever, just to get him some open shots sometimes where he doesn't have to work as hard. This is going to be scary. And just think about Ant running in transition with LaMelo Ball. God, this can be scary. I'm ready to see it. I'm ready to see it. Now for LaMelo, this is some of the more important basketball that he's going to be playing in his career. He had a couple years in Charlotte, sure, play-ins. You know, he had some all-star appearances, won the Rookie of the Year. It was never to the magnitude of what the Minnesota Timberwolves have been playing at over the past 3 or 4 years. This is a different stage. The pressure's going to be different. The stakes are going to be different. And honestly, he's going to have to mature on the fly. And I know a lot of people may hear that and think it's a diss to LaMelo. No, it's not. It's going to be a different type of basketball that he's going to be playing. He showed flashes this year. The Hornets went on a historic run in the second half of the season. Were one of the better teams in the entire league in the second half of the season. There was still some erratic play here and there, but that's just what comes with LaMelo. Some questionable shot selection, but that's what comes with LaMelo. But I believe that if he can cut down on just a few of those, instead of having 4 of them a game, cutting down to 3. You know what I'm saying? If he can cut down on that, man, this version of the Timberwolves is going to be scary. And I believe that Anthony Edwards is the right player to pair him with, as I feel like Ant is a good leader. Ant has a way of communicating with everyone where he doesn't rub them the wrong way, but at the same time, he gets the message across in a straightforward, respectful way. And look, I gotta keep it real with y'all. I do have my concerns. Number one, LaMelo's efficiency. Can LaMelo consistently make good decisions? Can he be a guy that knows what shot to take in a situation in the game? Will his shot selection be better? This is going to be a new version of LaMelo that we're going to be seeing. He's not going to be able to get away with some of the things that he was doing in Charlotte. He's going to be viewed in a different lens, especially being alongside Ant. Number two, this is a big one. LaMelo's injury history. Over LaMelo's career, he's only played over 55 games 3 times. And a lot of those times, he's playing like 27 games, 30-something games. Like, that's something that you really got to take into account because he's been hurt more so than he has played, especially with his ankle. He's had multiple ankle issues, and you add in the knee injury that Ant had this year in the playoffs. I hope that he's recovering over the summer and bounces back to full strength. And I hope the two of them can play 70-plus games together this year. But health is something. Health is something that you absolutely have to keep an eye on with this team. Now, outside of LaMelo and Ant, you got to check out the rest of the roster. I feel like this is a very, very solid roster to step early into the offseason with. You got Jaden McDaniels, Ayo Dosunmu, Rudy Gobert, Terrence Shannon, Mike Conley as a backup PG, also as a mentor for LaMelo Ball. They pretty much punted on their future, operating right up against the luxury tax right now. And this is the 3rd straight year that they're doing so. So filling out the rest of this roster is going to require some creativity. So they're going to have to go at players who will sign manageable contracts, some MLE type deals, some veteran minimums. The front office is going to have to be sharp here. One guy that I'm watching and think will be a huge piece for the Minnesota Timberwolves is Terrence Shannon. He showed many flashes last year in the playoffs, and if he keeps trending in the right direction, that's a really solid bench piece for a team like this to have. But when I look at the core guys, the core 4 plus Rudy, we all know Rudy has his shortcomings, but he does have his pluses, and I do think that with the addition of LaMelo Ball being able to serve the ball up on a platter for him, that will help. But the Timberwolves are a premier team in the West, in my opinion. This is my opinion. This is my reaction. This is my initial thoughts. Right now, early in the offseason, I think that the Timberwolves are a premier team. I think they're a top 3 or 4 team in the West. And they were already a team that teams didn't want to bump into in the playoffs. But now, it's everything they need. A playmaker, LaMelo Ball. Ayo Dosunmu is he's a playmaker as well. So you got 3 players that can carry on-ball responsibilities, give Ant a rest when needed, space the floor. You can't leave LaMelo Ball open. He'll hit 7 and 8 and threes in a row. He might miss 10 in a row sometimes, but he might fuck around and hit 7 and 8 threes in a row. Okay, we can't go the whole video talking about the Minnesota Timberwolves, especially me making the video. I'm from North Carolina, so we got to talk about the Charlotte Hornets. And honestly, I think I actually understand what they're doing. I think Charlotte is looking to build a different culture, and that's what matters, because the vibe around the Hornets over the past half decade was unserious, just chaotic energy. And the way that you carry yourself, I believe, not just for public perception, but for leadership, it matters. And that's not a slight against LaMelo Ball or the Miles Bridges era of basketball. I just think some of the decisions that both of them were making, it's not decisions that you make as a franchise player. And that can be said for multiple players throughout the league. I feel like the same goes for someone like Ja Morant. Some of the decisions you make aren't decision that you're making as the face of a franchise. LaMelo Ball is the face of a franchise. Why are you known to be terrorizing people by the way that you drive? Why are you dressing in lime green outfits? Like, you a star and you acting like Kyle Kuzma. So when I look at the direction that they're going in, I feel like they're going after blue collar guys that keep a good face card off the court and come in and work hard every day. So you look at their moves, they already got Knuple, got Brandon Miller. Those are 2 young core guys that they drafted. They just signed Kobe White to a 3-year, $74 million deal as their starting point guard. Added Naz Reid. I'm also seeing reports that they might try to move off Miles Bridges, which honestly, like I said, it tells you the direction that they're going. It's a new era of the Hornets. They're phasing out a lot of players who have been there for a while. And even looking at the young point guard that they drafted from Texas Tech, it looks like they're trying to bring in a different kind of player, a different kind of energy. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to think about it. These players, some of these players, their vet was Terry Rozier. LaMelo and Miles Bridges were sharing a locker room with Terry Rozier. Like, okay, all right. Like, now with the core that the Charlotte Hornets have, Knuple, he's coming off of a great rookie year, but I don't see him as a franchise player. I don't see him as a franchise centerpiece. I do see him as a really good complementary player. I think Brandon Miller may be that guy that they're going to try and build around. He's a 23 point per game scorer, drawn comparisons to Paul George. I would like to see his efficiency get better. I think he's around the low 40s when it comes to field goal percentage. I would like to see that get to at least the high 40s, at least the mid to high 40s. But he has all the tools needed to be a franchise player. I'm gonna put it on Brandon Miller. He has all the tools needed to be a franchise player. Kobe White coming home to the hoop state, coming home to his home state, North Carolina, being from here. So the projected lineup right now: Kobe, Khan, Brandon, Nas, and then a big. I'm drawing a blank on the young guy's name, Diabate. Him and LaMelo had that hilarious moment last year. You know what I'm talking about. But that's not a bad team. I'd say they're 5, 6, 7 seed in the East. Not favorites by any means, but they're going to compete. And you also have to take into account that they have a $41 million trade exception coming from this deal that they just made with the Timberwolves. So if you don't know what that means, Charlotte can basically take on $41 million worth of a salary in a future trade without having to send a matching salary back. It's a win-win. It's a golden ticket. They can absorb a big contract without giving up a player in return. So you take into account the draft picks that they receive plus the exception. They have real assets to go get somebody if they want to be aggressive, and it's something to pay close attention to. But the offseason is still in its early stages, but the NBA is getting very interesting. The Timberwolves, they're going all in on the LaMelo and Ant era hit and run, and Charlotte is quietly building something and looking to go in a different direction than what they've been in over the past half decade. Let me know what y'all think about this trade. Let me know what y'all think about some of the moves that have taken place early on in the offseason. And remember to please like, comment, subscribe, as I'll be trying to get these videos out as soon as possible when the news comes and when I get off work. But until next time, it's your boy Jay Lynch. Thank you for watching. We out. Salute.